Hello, we're back. My name is Harriton Bodko. We're talking about the economy. That's the way that has to be spelled. And we have Ramel Sangalang with us, and we have Tomani Tan of Fern C. Gentlemen, we were talking about the Philippine economy and how it's affecting everybody. The elections coming up, and Ramel was saying that, well, people are not exactly asking the right questions, or better yet, the presidentiables are not promoting exactly what they're supposed to do. But then again, that's Philippine politics. With the politics coming in and the elections coming in, normally, if I'm not mistaken, consumerism climbs because there's a lot of money being spent. The politicians, in return, are now spending. Baliktad. People who've been making money in the last 3 and 6 years are now spending, especially on the presidential elections. You're feeling this as well in your trade. You don't see this, Ramel?
Well, the problem with transparency in this country is there is none. So when you try to find avenues where you can find great economic numbers and attributes to candidacies spend, you're not going to get it. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I'm not sure. Sometimes you don't want to tell people what you're spending money on. At other times, though, you kind of want to, hey, look at this bright and shiny. Because of this, your kid's smarter. Because of this, you have more graduates this year. I don't know what to tell you about transparency. This country is very not opaque.
Well, we've got a very funny, if I may, my take on that would be we've got a very funny theory, if you can even call it a theory. The Philippines is very unique in its own way, the way we have our consumerism, our economy, the way it runs. You've got the poor and you've got the rich. That divide is the same even in America or anywhere around the world, except that we are not really affected when you have world issues when it comes to banking and finance. We're able to stand alone, and the 100 million people and growing. Actually, all indicators look good. And Noynoy is correct. He has achieved that one way or the other. That I'll give to him, except for the information that's floating all about. Just like the other day, he was in California saying, he was boasting about the great jobs that we have, the multiple jobs we have in the Philippines. At the very same channel where he's being featured right after that, they're talking about no jobs, poor jobs. You know, people coming home, the OFWs cannot be absorbed. So it's very difficult. You call it no transparency. I call it confusion. Then again, let's move forward. Where is the world going and how are we getting affected? For example, in your trade, there's a lot of disruptions. You've got online, the online buying now, the online stores, which is really coming up very strong, correct? You've got the Lazada group and the Galleons and whatnot. There's about 40 of them, and they're doing great guns. They're doing what, 50, 70 million a month now? Just a year ago, they weren't even 10% of that. Probably, well, I think it's the cash on delivery concept. Yun, that's not hurting you?
Well, actually, if you don't join them, it will hurt you. But actually, what we're doing is we're joining.
You're
them.
part of it.
Yeah, we put up our own online store, and the new company we put up, everything is working online. You register online, you order online, we ship everything.
Wow,
to
you brought MLM to a different level, huh?
Yes.
I didn't know you could do MLM in online. Pwede rin.
Yeah. And then of course we are right now in talks with all of these popular online selling companies, so that we can tie up with them also. So
Don't
that
just have one store.
Because
Be available
the
everywhere.
people are changing. I think people our age were used to going to the store and buying. The younger generation, my kids, the teenagers now, they're used to looking looking for everything online, clicking, and making that purchase. For us, I remember for what we need to pay for shipping. It's so expensive, but for them, shipping is cheap because I don't need to go there. I don't need to take the MRT or the bus or whatever to go to the store to pick it up. Shipping is
But it's
cheaper.
true, it is cheaper.
Yeah.
And they deliver it. The logistics companies here are doing very, very well. You don't see that happening. Well, that's happened in America, right? In the last 10 years. Amazon took the world. This guy, Jack Ma, with Alibaba, has taken over China. It's amazing. Considering the logistics in China is horrendous. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, one of the things Jeff Bezos regrets is not having enough focus on India. Not India, sorry, China.
China.
So now he's burning billions in cash flow
To get it.
in India. Yeah. The issue is the same. Logistics, the final mile. In the United States, it's not COD, but here it is. It's cost.
How come these businesses, we're talking about it, they all seem to be booming, and yet what we read with what's going on, you've got the war in the Middle East, you've got oil that's dropping. I'm sure oil to all of us, wow, my car, I'm going to spend less. But actually, it's very disruptive, as you put it.
Yes.
The economist, again, really sees a lot of havoc that this oil drop is going to bring about.
Let me present to you a word that is fearful to economists, but the average person might not know it. It's called deflation. Deflation is terrible because as a company, when your product is selling for $10 this year and deflation happens, and now you're selling it $9 next year, that doesn't mean that your cost went down as well.
Yeah.
A lot
Yes.
of havoc goes through that chain. Deflation is not good. In fact, it's a lot better if you set for inflation at a
Than
controlled
deflation.
rate than deflation, because deflation is a lot more chaos than a controlled rate of inflation, and anyone will tell you that.
But here's the other way around. When the prices of oil goes up, prices of commodities go up. But when the prices of oil go down, prices of commodities stay up.
They resist. They resist deflation. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen, and it causes them a world of hurt. And you'll see certain companies even disappear because they can't afford to bring that price down.
We have a lot of issues ongoing. You've got the China crisis in the West China Sea. How do you think that's going to affect us? What do you think, Tammany? It's going to affect you, your business, our economy, the people?
For me, it's not going to affect me because
You're not worried about, the other day, diba, in the Paracel Islands, they brought the missiles. Should we be scared? Because the news, diba, what you're reading, World War III.
well, in the end, I think I would like to think that in the end, the people in China, going back to their original, how do you say, DNA, is a conquering race. The reason for all of this South China and whatever
Yeah.
is because they want to expand their territory. But in the end, if they go to war, it's not good business for anybody. China is not America. America is a war-driven economy. When they manufacture war, the businesses,
business.
the defense business,
Yeah.
it's a good year for the
that's-
defense business. But for China, they're more concerned about making money. So
That's
I
a
don't
good way
think,
to put it.
yeah, that's they're not gonna do anything to ruin what they have put up, what they have built. Their main goal is to make money out of this.
Rommel's itching to come back. Go, Rommel.
So I'm just gonna point out that I did spend a little bit of time in the military, and I
Okay.
do hang out with ex-military people.
Okay.
The economists in China, the bankers, the financial people, you're correct, 100%. But that's not who's on that warship. That's not whose finger is on that button for that missile. These guys have been trained for war for the last 2 decades. They missed out on Vietnam.
You're
And-
talking about the Americans.
No, I'm talking
talking
about a
about Chinese,
Chinese general
okay.
or a
Right.
Chinese admiral or a young
Yeah.
punk lieutenant who's got itchy trigger finger.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you go back a decade or two, there was a P-3 spy plane that was harassed by a young captain on a fighter plane, and both collided, and then one had to crash land into China. But the film showed that it was the aggressiveness of the Chinese fighter pilot. So yes, to your point, the bankers in China are fine.
Yeah.
It's that captain in that fighter plane that worries me.
So you think it is imminent, and there's going to be accidents can and will happen,
Accidents can and will happen.
and that's going to affect all of it. Tayo ba, if that thing escalates, tama tayo, no? Our business,
Of course.
everything comes to a halt.
Of course. I was kidding the other day. Okay, all of the rich Chinese people in Manila, hey, we're from China.
Yeah. It's true, isn't it? But no one seems to be bothered. Ako, the man on the street don't seem to know. Ano yan? They don't read. They don't care. Everyone's too busy trading, making money. I don't feel, when you talk to the people, they're not worried about the South China Sea issue. They're not worried about the oil. In fact, it's great. Oil is cheaper. They're more worried about the presidential, they want to know more about Mar Rojas and the slapping incident, or as of late, Pacquiao's
Yeah.
event with the
Yes.
LGBT. Mali, why? Di ba? It doesn't make sense.
I think that's Filipino culture. We like the artista and we like to find out about what's happening in their lives. So the politicians is just another extension. That's why we have so many celebrities.
So we live in a world of
politics.
make-believe. Okay yun.
Yeah.
It's
And
better to live their life than our life, which is miserable.
And then you say that during the presidential debate, they didn't talk about the hard issues. Actually, I attended several Go Negosyo events where we invited every presidentiable. And for an hour and a half, the presidentiable would talk about his platform. What would you do about China? What would you do about foreign ownership of land? What would you do about the call center industry? Everybody were given, more or less the same questions because they asked the same panelists. But when you're talking to the entire Philippines, you're talking to the masses, they don't want to talk about the issues. They want to talk
That's
about
what I feel.
the
Baliktad,
hindi ako magnanakaw and whatever. That's what they want to talk about. Actually, if you look at all of the political commercials right now, compare it to the political commercials of before, they learn a lot from America. There's very hard-hitting, and they're direct to the point. Like Maro has, his body double. His last commercial, he had a close-up because that's his way to connect to the people. Before, he had a difficult way of connecting. So that's why they did the commercial na close-up. And you look at post-commercial, is katulad lang yan ni FPJ, magpapabugbog muna, then in the end, he wins. So everybody knows how to get that message out there. For sure, they hired the top, advertising agencies to help them. So talagang this election, you really see, whose candidate has more money, who's really spending, what commercials you will see on TV, which candidate doesn't even have a single commercial on TV. When we had a big meeting, I used these commercials to highlight how important communication is. I showed 3 commercials, Poe, Binay, Rojas. Everybody saw it. Everybody, I asked, these are people from all over the Philippines, top performers. I said, who saw this commercial? Everybody raised their hand.
Right.
And then I showed the commercial from Duterte, the one where he said, Merry Christmas even to the kidnappers and everybody. But if you do not change your ways, ito nang huling Merry Christmas ninyo. Everybody was laughing and I said, have you seen this before? Everybody hasn't seen it.
Baliktad.
Okay, so online lang siya because he doesn't have the money of the other 3 candidates. But for sure, those people who saw it, they will look for it on Facebook and share it to all of their friends. So, talagang the Filipinos really like this.
It's what tickles them, naive.
Yeah.
But I don't hear intelligent conversation when it comes to, for example, or never mind, let's not even call it intelligent conversation. It's not, the conversation does not dwell about all the other issues that are happening around the world. I mean, if Trump wins, for example, may consequence sa Pilipinas yan. Miski pa paano, because he's
Immigration.
Immigration. He is for the American who lives in America, kaya very Republican stand. Let's build the wall, let's protect ourselves. Bring the war to them, don't bring it near us. We bomb the hell out of them first before they come near us. Diba ganun style yan?
Yes.
Putin is in a problem. Then you've got the Eurozone or the European community that's all having issues. But we don't talk about these issues. We just talk about our artistas and, of course, the presidential candidates. But many of them, like you're right, they've learned how to reach the people in a different way, no longer the platform per se, because a lot of them don't really care. Or is it being cynical? Or the Pinoy is just, ayan na naman yan.
Emotional kasi ang Pinoy eh. So that's how you get the Filipino, through emotion.
If we're so emotional, how come we're not raising our hand with the MRT? I drive down EDSA almost every day and I see them. I pity them, di ba? There's no transportation, and if there is, they're like anchovies, di ba, inside that train, which is ridiculous. It's hot, inconvenient. But why is it they don't complain? They don't come up and put their hands up, galit, di ba?
They consider it as a fact of life. Actually, I always have a discussion with my
So
HR.
tolerance.
Yeah,
Intolerance
sanay
natin.
magtiis ang Pinoy, di ba? Parang you show videos, calamity, Yolanda, and then people are still smiling in the how do you say,
That's true too.
yeah,
No?
the rescue areas, di ba? Ganun yung Pinoy. That's the Filipino spirit eh. So, ngayon naging discussion na lang namin sa office, sige, how many % of the employees are late today? If 50% are late, okay, we will adjust, from 10 a.m. magiging 11 a.m. yung
For traffic.
yeah, because
Tsaka legitimate na yung traffic
legitimate
yan.
kasi let's say the MRT bogs down or something, big traffic happens. Ganun na lang. That's as a company, that's how we siguro
You're very
are
tolerant.
considerate to our people. Kasi ilan percent, pag 50% yung late, that means totoo, hindi yung na-late lang siya ng gising. No, talagang there was massive traffic problem and everybody was affected.
But I think the massive problem now is an everyday occurrence. It's the new normal na everywhere. I mean, there's not enough transportation. There's not. What gets me is why no one's going after Abaya. Rojas, he's still popular in spite of that. Parang like you said, tolerance, and yet they're the ones that are directly responsible for that.
Sanay na eh.
Sanay.
Sanay na.
Can you imagine? Ibang-iba sa Amerika sa nangyayari. Let's look at Europe. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of movement in Europe. If the UK gets out of the Union, there will be a lot of big changes again. And then the big American companies that are getting out of America and reestablishing themselves due to taxes and whatnot in the European countries. That's okay. And then Europe, or better yet, the UK getting cozy with China. You know, there's this interrelationship. The economy is topsy-turvy. No one economist can no longer predict, but then again, economists have been known to not be able to predict. It's like they like to think it's a science, but it's not. They can't predict anything. But that's the problem.
Yeah.
They're weathermen, yes, and they're not sure what's going on. And yet we call them economists and we bring them about. The bankers are a different story. It seems the banking system is still in disarray. The world money is still floating about. They don't know where that's going. And actually, the future looks bleak. Correct me if I'm wrong.
2016 looks pretty bad. I actually wrote an article about statistically, if January stinks, because I can't say certain words here, then the year will stink.
You can. This is GNN. It's Talk to Harry. But go ahead.
But it'll be to specific industries. Right now, when it comes to commodities, China, of course, not buying any causes problems for us to sell to them, for the world to sell to them. When it comes to other things such as transference of money, people are clamping down. So the free flow of money, what they call hot money, is slowing down as well, just because it's just a pain in the butt to invest here or to invest someplace that's, you know, a third world. There are issues that can be fixed by governments around the world, especially the Philippines. I'm telling you, as a person that hangs around foreigners that start businesses here, this is not an easy place to start a business. That would be my first request to any president that has coffee with me. Hey, as an outsider, what would you think would be the best result for the Philippines? You know what? Try making the outside companies of the world have a little bit easier time than grafting everybody and their brother to get a fire hydrant in the right place, an exit sign in the right place. And it's all harassment to a foreigner to come here. So if you can fix that, you're one step above everybody else. But I got a question for you, Harry. And this came about the question with the priest. Because he loves the whole movement that ousted Marcos. And of course, I haven't been here. And, you know, those decades where people disappeared and the secret police, I have no memories of that. I actually left in 1972. But it comes down to this. You see this Arab Spring, which is retarded. Can I say that word?
Go ahead.
Retarded, because everywhere a strong man left, whether it's Hussein, Colonel Gaddafi, the general in Egypt, it all went to crap. Now, here in the Philippines, I'm not saying that a strong man's not needed, but there is precedence where a strong man could possibly change the country more than someone with more passion and more heart.
Well, both of you, well, Tomani must have been much younger during the Marcos years. You're after Marcos, and you weren't here. I'm a little older. You know, business was very good during that period. Mind you, your father will tell you.
That's what my parents say.
Everything was in order, and you didn't have to worry about the neighborhood politician who was robbing you and hustling you. It's actually a very different story from what they're painting today. But then again, like I said earlier in the show, one of the issues we have other than transparency is the concept of confusion, which has taken over and has been the mindset of media and the people accepting it. Anyway, we've got to end the show. Dominic, a message to our viewers. Tell us about your company very quickly.
Well, right now we have two companies. It's Fern, and we sell Fern C. We just launched Fern C Kids. And then we have iFern also, multi-level company, vision sharing prosperity through entrepreneurship. We have Fern D, Fern Active, Milka, We
Milk
have-
as the new product.
Yeah, milk as a new
Cal-
product.
calcium, okay.
Yeah, actually, we also launched a perfume line called Senzi.
Oh my gosh, you're expanding.
Yeah, and we also have Aurora, which is a face cream, day and night cream. So we're just creating more products so that our members have more products to sell.
Kailangan. That's
Yeah.
good. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Fern C. Take advantage of that product. Ramel, your message to our viewers.
Well, Summer Fort's a very brand new company, but we've already been helping clients like yourselves in super brands. So Glutamax had a heart to go overseas, and so we helped them make contacts in Indonesia. So Summer Fort Financial can help people expand their company, consolidate, and redo debt so that they'll have more cash flow. If they have any needs whatsoever for the future strategy of their company, just bounce it off us, and we'll give you options, and we're always there to help.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our show. In GNN, well, at least here, we don't believe in the concept of confusion. But then again, many of our hosts right here in this station is very, let's say, in the other side, not necessarily with the Yellow Army. Now, talk about confusion, reality, truth, what the truth is. Well, you know, you have to balance everything. Don't just listen and believe everything you hear and see. You've got to make an effort to listen to everybody else, to all the different points of views. With the election coming up, yes, this has a lot to do with our economy. The economy has a lot to do with you. Understanding more and giving you critical thought will help you decide which way to go. Now, with the elections, yeah, you're right. You know what you do? Just collect the money they give you and then vote someone else. Anyway, those things won't come out that said that you didn't vote for anybody else. The Comelec decided not to bring it out. So if they give you 2,000, 3,000, just get it and vote for X, whoever it is. Maraming salamat po.
Welcome to the Philippines.
Wait, the credits will come on.
You are what you watch.